I'm Lars and this is my land. In my land, I get to do whatever I want, and what I really like is a captive audience. And what I really love is talking about the Beatles. So today I'm going to compare two documentaries made from the same footage about the Beatles set 50 years apart. And you're gonna listen because it's my land. Welcome to Annoying Memos Land. Beepity beep 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 beep. Every time I do one of these, I talk about my ongoing video essay series on the TV show Lost. There have been a couple major setbacks in the last few weeks, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. So there's more of a delay than I had expected, but that's okay. I definitely still have more ideas for Beatles videos, but if you're getting sick of the Beatles, how dare you? But I also have ideas for dumb teen shows that I've watched recently, amazing shows that surprised me, and one show that really kicked my butt. And if you have other ideas, please comment below. I would love to hear them, except if you're going to ask me to listen to another band.
Pass? Like, no disrespect or anything, but pass?
Fight me. Just a warning, I have the loudest chair in the universe, the driest eyes in the country. I haven't been crying, it's just the way I look. And sometimes that TV just goes the wrong way, and I would apologize, but it's going to happen again. I'd absolutely love it if you would like and subscribe and all of that jazz. Now let's go back to Lars land. The Get Back recording sessions were taped in January 1969. There is over 60 hours of film footage and more than 150 hours of audio. The Let It Be documentary is an hour and 20 minutes, and the Get Back documentary is in 3 different episodes, and it's roughly 6-something hours. I've watched the Get Back documentary in an unacceptable amount of time. If you told me that I had seen it more than 10 times, I would believe you. If you told me that I had seen it more than 20 times, I would believe you. That's all I'm gonna say. The Let It Be documentary came out in 1970. It was shot from the same footage as the Get Back documentary, which was edited/directed by Peter Jackson in 2021. It has been released on Disney Plus. If you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it. Go. I'm very grateful for the Get Back documentary. I actually found it just a few days after I declared my Beatles fandom. As soon as I found out that there was an original documentary, I knew that I absolutely needed to watch it. And as with most things, with a good VPN and enough ingenuity, I found it. The reason why I really wanted to watch it is because Lindsay-Hogg, this guy who directed the original, has done interviews, and so have Paul and Ringo, regarding the difference between the documentaries. I found their quotes to be interesting. Please remember that I'm paraphrasing. These are not exact quotes. Lindsay-Hogg did an interview with Rolling Stone in November 2021, right before the Beatles Get Back was released. So Lindsay-Hogg seemed completely at ease with it. He says, I did mine. I love Peter Jackson. Not only is there this Rolling Stone interview, but there's plenty of interviews on YouTube. Go do your own research if you'd like to see those. He explained that perhaps the reason why the Beatles had kind of a bitter taste in their mouth regarding the Let It Be documentary is because of when it came out. It came out in mid to late 1970, which is right around the time the Beatles were formally breaking up. So anything that comes up at that point, especially something that had George leaving the band, is not going to be the most fun thing to view. So that could have tainted some of it. At least that's what Michael says. He also claims a few things that are He said that there has been some found footage from this conversation that was recorded between John and Paul without their knowledge. It was right after George left the band. As a fan and as a documentary viewer, I'm very intrigued and glad that we have that conversation. As a journalist, once again, you need to leave. It's very concerning to me. It doesn't always sit with me well, knowing some of the less than savory things done, right? But since Paul and Ringo gave it a green light, we're just gonna let it go. So Michael says that in this conversation that John says, oh, well, you know, let's get Eric Clapton. He's not such a headache. First off, that wasn't in that conversation. But John did say in a different conversation,
maybe for the show, I mean, you could just say George was sick.
No, I mean, if he leaves, he leaves.
Do you want to go on with the show and the work?
Yeah, if he doesn't come back by Tuesday, we get Clapton.
It was kind of like, we can have Eric replace him for this, which George wouldn't mind because he doesn't mind Eric Clapton replacing him for other things. Oh no. I'm leaving it in. He also claimed that during filming, Paul and Ringo would go up to him and say, you know that bit where George left? I don't know if we need that in the show. I don't know if we need that. Except for we see the exact opposite from John, Paul, and Ringo saying, actually, I think we should just tell the truth.
Documentary which is grinding to a halt. How we do it?
Grinding to a halt, I think it's taking off.
Ringo said that he thought we ought to just tell it like it is.
I think we are.
They seem to understand what a documentary means, which is doing your best to tell the exact happenings, not skewing some sort of information. I also read that Alan Klein, who was the Beatles manager at the time of the documentary release, he kind of put pressure on Michael to make it seem like it was all happy, hunky-dory. I obviously can't verify that, but if that's true, it would make sense that they're trying to make it seem like everybody's great. I've mentioned Alan Klein in both of my other Beatles videos. I need to talk about him more, but this is not the venue for him. Paul had an interview with NME in November of 2021, and he said that watching the documentary was reaffirming that they loved each other and got along. He said that after the Let It Be documentary came out, he was taking on a lot of the blame for why the Beatles broke up, and that had something to do with his press announcement, but also other things. And he said that he just felt like when he first saw it, they were fed up with each other and he didn't have good memories from that time. So when he found out that Peter Jackson was going to go back through this and direct a new documentary, that he was worried that he would just be looking at this evil version of himself. But watching it made him feel good, especially seeing his relationship with John. Ringo, in an interview with Stephen Colbert, he says that there was no joy in the original documentary and it was hard for him to watch. The original documentary was very narrow. There was a lot of there's tension. You can't take away from that. But we're brothers and brothers fight, and we have a row, then it's okay. It's over now. So he said that it was really nice to see them joking around and loving each other. After finding those interviews, I thought that it was going to be really interesting to take a look between the two. The most important thing to know about Let It Be is that in this version of the documentary, George didn't walk out. There's only one conflict shown, and it's the one where Paul says, I'm not trying to get you. I can feel that I'm annoying you. George says, you don't annoy me anymore, in only a way that someone who is annoyed will say it. George says, anything that you want me to do, I'll do it.
Whatever it is that will please you, I'll do it. But I don't think you really know what that one is.
It's spoken in a way that only someone who had meant it and said it so many times before could say it, but now it's just painful. That's the way I interpreted it. And then all of a sudden they're leaving Twickenham and they're at Apple Court. Mostly Let It Be, it's just music. There are some songs in there that aren't in Get Back, but they're all kind of the same vibe as a lot of fun. But when I was looking through, I was saying, it seems like they're hard at work. Even when they're playing covers and it's more fun, it seems like they're working. So I can almost see what Ringo was saying there. The first time I watched this was over a month ago, and I thought, man, they're really showing a lot of George. It seems like George is smiling here, George is smiling there. I kind of wondered if Alan Klein's thing about trying to make it seem happier, kind of trying to erase that memory for George, like, see, you were happy here. You were. That is absolute speculation, by the way. But I just kind of wondered that. The second time I watched it, which was yesterday, all I noticed was that apparently Ringo doesn't count for the Beatles because he's barely in this. Look, there's Ringo. There's Ringo all the way back there. There are very few shots of him. If you watched Get Back, you'll know that Ringo is just freaking hilarious throughout it.
Tomorrow, or
I just thought I'd let you know. Thank you. He's gonna sit here silent, listen to you.
If you've watched the Get Back documentary, then you'll know that Ringo's humor is one of the things that keeps them all together. And it's sad because that camaraderie that we see there just doesn't make it into here. And I kind of wonder if he was just told not to include any of that. I do know that he was told not to include any of the extra people. I have to say that Get Back was really comprehensive in ways that you wouldn't expect. Dick James, who had purchased Northern Songs and had the majority of the early Beatles catalog, was there, and there was a conflict between Paul and him. We got to see that. We heard about Alan Klein, and we see how John was completely enamored in this guy, and we know that he completely screwed the Beatles later on. Glenn Johns said something really interesting about Alan Klein.
He'll ask you a question and you're halfway through answering it, and if he doesn't like the answer, or if it's not really what he wanted to hear, he'll change the subject right in the middle of a sentence. That bugs me a bit, actually.
It's kind of weird because these are just these casual things and they didn't know what was going on then. But there are these warning signs about this guy. And I think that's really interesting. In the moment when it's just Paul and Ringo and they're waiting for John to come in after George has left the band. And Paul says, and then there were two. It's one of the most emotional moments of the documentary. And the camera stays on his face for 25 seconds straight. 25 seconds doesn't sound that long until you're looking at it, and it's a very telling moment. I could tell you how I interpreted it, but I would expect it'd be better for you to go watch and see how you interpret it. The best way I can describe Let It Be is that it's just the taking a mountain and turning it into a molehill version of Get Back. They were like, let's just smooth it over, but we'll keep like a little bit in here. It ends with the rooftop show just the same. We have Mal Evans playing Maxwell's Silver Hammer, which is the best part of all of the documentary. George gets shocked by the mic. John and Yoko still dance the waltz. Pretty much everything is the same. We obviously don't see any of that stuff with the press. I think the press piece of Get Back is so important, and I really want to do like a deep dive on that because once again, in George Harrison's song When We Was Fab, he said, in the microscope that magnified the tears. They've all talked about how the press made things so much harder for them. And they even say in here, they're outright lying about stuff.
Harrison has already agreed to pay Burbot £425 compensation. It's amazing the way it goes on without even anything to do with you.
Yeah.
We know that the public believed that John and George had a fist fight for 50 years. We didn't know that they didn't until this came out. People believed that just because this guy, Michael Houseco, just thought, I'm gonna write it.
There's only one guy I'd like to get, and that's Housego.
It's really extraordinary, the last week's press.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing to it except that it's a lie.
You should get fired for doing that. It's outright wrong. Ultimately, it's pretty similar. And I hate to break it to you, but it's pretty similar. I think you should watch it if you're a big fan. You might as well just take a look. You got a good VPN and enough ingenuity. Go find it. The thing that makes me sad and happy is that the four of them just really wanted to be the Beatles and be their own people and not be what the Beatles had become. All of the things that being a Beatle would entail. It's hard to be everything that the Beatles had become and be your own person. So it seems like that split was coming. I keep talking about the breakup like I know something. It would be important for me to actually take some time and talk about it for real, but I'm not sure if I should or shouldn't. Really love the ultimate decision to do the show on the rooftop because it seems like it was a really good combination of what they were wanting to do. They wanted to have this sort of pop-up show and get the public involved, but they're kind of still being mysterious about it. They don't really like doing things in public anymore, and they're still safe, and we know that it's hard for them to be safe. It is a dangerous life as a Beatle. I thought that that was such a fitting end to both of these documentaries. My favorite moment in the entire documentary, because I'm weird, is during Maxwell's Silver Hammer when George goes like, and Paul catches it and he says, was that you? And George goes like, he's about to leave the band, but there's still this moment between them. It is a shorthand that none of us will ever understand. Now, because I am the way that I am, I found out that there is a way for me to get a hold of all of the audio of the Get Back sessions. It's like 80 hours. I can procure it. I will do it if people would want to watch it. So if you want me to listen to 80 hours of the Get Back sessions, I'll do it. Let me know. Great day to talk about the Beatles. Next video probably won't be about the Beatles, but don't worry because there will always be more Beatles. Always more Beatles in Lars land. Been a good day. Bye! Thanks for watching.
My rock and roll finger is bleeding. My rock and roll finger is hurt.